Hello everyone and welcome to another episode on Let the Mic Drop. I am your host with the always, Izal. And folks, be sure to stop by here at Iron Body in Laredo, Texas and come by to check Ace's Pro Wrestling Dungeon. Anyone that wants to become a wrestler, you may do so by joining or just simply check it out. So let's begin, guys, to talk about some very, very important discussions. We begin with the FIFA Women's World Cup. As you all know, Spain are your world champions for the next 4 years. And however, there came some controversy with that. As far as you all know, Coach Rubiales was involved with a controversial kiss with one of his players. I will say that it created a lot of stir in the soccer community, but he's not resigning. The Spain government got involved. He's not resigning, so we will see what will happen in the near future if this is going to impact the Spain program of football. Moving along to FIBA World Cup of men's basketball, as the USA failed to qualify in obtaining any type of medal. Very disappointing for the men's USA team. There was a lot of expectations, but unfortunately they came up short. Germany won the whole tournament for the very first time. There are rumors going into the next Olympics next year for Paris. There are some notable players that want to take part of it. One being Draymond Green, the other being Chris Paul, possibly Stephen Curry for the first time. We will see how this will unfold in the next coming months, if any notable player will join this team. Be sure to share your thoughts. What do you think of the men's basketball USA team coming up short in the whole tournament? So now we're talking about Major League Baseball, and the playoff races are really heating up, guys. Honestly, the whole story is the American League West, involving Texas Rangers, the Houston Astros, and the Seattle Mariners. That race is super tight. We will see who will win the division, as all three teams are neck and neck. Now, for the American League, the team with the best record is Baltimore. They seem to be securing the home field advantage. And for the National League, you have Atlanta with the best record overall. So it will be very, very interesting how things will unfold in the next coming weeks. But you also have to give it to Julio Rodriguez for becoming the fourth player in history to join the 30-30 club at the age of 22. Didn't expect the results to be in favor of Baltimore and Atlanta. Did not expect that to happen. But now we turned ourselves to the hottest topics right now going on, and that is college football. And the story there is Colorado, guys. Colorado University with 2 impressive wins under first-year head coach Deion Sanders. Also, you got to give it to Texas pulling the biggest upset of the season by beating Alabama. Now, I know most of you want Arch Manning to take the reins, but it's too soon for this kid. I would suggest you give him time. Maybe get a little familiar with the system and the book. You got to give this kid time. But I do see a lot of potential in Texas. Also, USC and Miami. Miami beating Texas A&M. Is this some good signs to come from that program that's been irrelevant for the last several years? But I really, of all stories, is Colorado. I did not expect for them to start this red hot by Deion Sanders, but if I was a player, I would want to play for Deion Sanders. And last but not least, folks, we turn to the NFL, and the season is finally here. But before we get right to things, last time we spoke about the Washington Commanders possibly going back to their old name. That's not going to happen. The ownership said that is in the past. They're going to move forward. Maybe they might think of changing the current name that they have, but only time will tell. But I will really have to get down to what biggest upset of the start of the season was: the Chiefs being defeated by the Lions. And also, is the Cowboys defense for real? Yes, they are. But the question is, can the offense keep up as they obliterated the Giants on Sunday Night Football. And let's not forget, Jets finally took off victoriously against Buffalo, but they ended up losing their biggest investment of the season, and that was Aaron Rodgers. Yep, you heard it. Aaron Rodgers done for the year. As a matter of fact, he got hurt. He tore his Achilles, and there goes all the money that they invested on this future Hall of Fame quarterback. So where do the Jets turn to next? I don't know. If you want my opinion, I think it's going to be the same result as last season. Don't panic just yet on the Super Bowl champs. And the Eagles flew barely against the Patriots. So those are stories. And also Joe Burrow starting a little bit slow. Cincinnati. I wouldn't panic just yet on Josh Allen throwing those multiple picks this past few days. But folks, it's only going to get better. It's only going to get interesting, and I love it because there's a lot of competition. A lot of competition, folks. So be sure to share your thoughts on what has happened this whole week on sports. And folks, that's really all the time I have. Be sure to tune in next week here on Let the Mic Drop.
Regresan las máximas estrellas a Laredo, Texas. Celebremos juntos nuestro tercer aniversario. Viernes 29 de septiembre en el Casablanca Pensante. Lucha Maya presenta Yo hago lo que me da la gana. En la lucha superestelar regresa la pareja más espectacular de la última década y actuales campeones de parejas de Lucha Maniacs. Penta, el Cero Miedo, el Rey Fénix. Defenderán sus campeonatos en un triangular de parejas contra la Orden, Décimos y Juventud Aérea contra la epidemia del momento, Epidemius y Epidemius Junior. Triangular de locura por el campeonato de Lucha Maniacs. El actual campeón, el intrépido Antonio San Francisco, se enfrenta a las máximas estrellas de lucha libre AAA, el megacampeón AAA, el hijo del vikingo y el águila del Río Bravo, Laredo Kid. Y porque esta rivalidad tiene que culminar, se enfrentan Máscara contra Cabellera, Cuervo contra Eric Ortiz. Y porque el público lo pide y nosotros les cumplimos, la tóxica Lady Maravilla defenderá su campeonato ante la sensual Sexy Star. Además llegan las máximas superestrellas, las Chotas, Diva Salvaje y Jess Ventura, la Black Generation, Demonic Flamita y Emperador Azteca y muchas estrellas más. Viernes 29 de septiembre, Casablanca Pensante, Laredo, Texas. Tienes que ser parte del tercer aniversario de Lucha Maniacs. Entra general desde 20 dolaritos. Informes en el 956-236-1754. No te lo puedes perder.
Hello, everybody. I'm Ricky Morton of the Rock and Roll Express. And when it comes to wrestling and you need gear and you need your instruments to play your band, listen to me. I only go where the best is. And I go to Laredo, to Aces Boots. Check these right here out, man. Good wrestling boots, and they last forever. Don't send you money out of the country to get a pair of boots. Just send it to Laredo. It's Ace Boots Company. Have a good night.
This is Izzy Moreno, and you are watching Let the Mic Drop.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us right here on another episode of Let the Mic Drop. We have a very special guest, one of my very good friends. I've traveled to his shows for a very long time now, for several years now. We have from Texas Wrestling Cartels, the owner of Texas Wrestling Cartel, ladies and gentlemen, Jeff Trevino. Jeff, how you doing, Jeff?
I'm doing well, man. Thank you for having me on your show. Thanks for always supporting me and coming out and helping me with everything, that I need.
Jeff, with that being said, all this wrestling stuff didn't start off as you as an adult. You've been a kid. How did you get the wrestling bug growing up?
Well, I kind of just stumbled upon it one day when I was young. I was probably in first grade or even kindergarten. And back in Corpus during that time, they used to show World Class on Channel 8, which was ESPN back then. And I just happened to be flipping through the channels and caught it, and I was instantly hooked. I'm a big Von Erich fan, and I was just drawn into it, and it just from there I was consumed by it. I never wanted to be a football player. My family comes from a football background. They wanted me to play football. I always wanted to be a professional wrestler. I said it since I was a kid, and I was told I would outgrow it. I would outgrow it, and here I am today. 45 years old, and I still haven't outgrew it.
Did you ever do any professional wrestling in your time? Any training, anything going on before you actually
Yeah,
got into the promoting side?
yeah. I did. Like I said, I think every promoter, I think ultimately had the dream in the beginning to be a pro wrestler, and then they figure out either whether it's for them or not for them. And you know, I started, like I said, as a fan. I would go to some local shows here in Corpus, and I was like, man, I really want to do that. Let me backtrack a little bit. You know, um, Back then, we didn't have a lot of money and stuff like that. So growing up, I was raised by my grandparents, and I would go to HEB and I would read the Pro Wrestling Illustrated magazines. And back then, there wasn't schools that you could just go to like nowadays. But in Pro Wrestling Illustrated, there was an ad for Adrian Street School in Florida, and I was 8, 9 years old. Like I said, and I would call every year. Well, I started calling and asked, well, how do I get down there? How do I train? How old are you? I'm 8 years old. I'm 9 years old. We'll call back when you're 18. I would call back every year on my birthday, around my birthday, to where Adrian Street practically he already knew my name. He already knew, man, I told you when you're 18, give me a call, then we can get you in, come back, bring you in, when you're 18, we'll bring you in when you're 18. And so that never left my mind, you know what I mean? Then as I started getting older and started doing stuff on my own, I found a local show here in Corpus, and we just found it by chance. Me and a buddy of mine were eating at a taqueria, and I seen that they were having a show at the Yellow Rose. So we went, and we were there. At that time, they ran every 2 weeks, and we were there every show. And it got to the point to where one night we were there, and we're like, my buddy looks at me, and says, "Hey, let's run in the ring after the show." And I said, "Nah, you're not going to do it." And he said, "No, I'm going to do it." So after the show, they started tearing down, started coming out and we're getting ready to tear down. My buddy walked around one side of the ring. I walked around the other side of the ring. By the time I knew it, he already jumped in, hit the rope, came back, hit the other side. So I slid in. He gave me a clothesline. I took a bump, powdered out, and the whole locker room emptied out, chased us out of the Yellow Rose. And it was wild. Well, I didn't go to the next show because of that situation. I didn't know what they were going to say or do or what. So we ended up going to the following show after that. And I ended up just asking one of the guys that was doing security. I said, "Hey, man, how do I get involved in this?" And he gave me the number to the local promoter who was Paul Galvan at the time. And I called him, and I showed up at his house to train. And when I showed up at his house, everybody that chased me out of the building was like in awe. I pulled up in my lowrider Regal and my gold chains, and because I'm from the hood. You know what I mean? I was born and raised and you know what I mean, the west side of Corpus Christi, Texas, and so I had pulled up there, and I never left from that day. You know what I mean? I was there, and at that time, Mr. Prestigious was there. I think you know him very well, Richard Aleman.
Yes, I do. Richard Aleman. Yes, I know him very
Yeah,
well. He's a really good friend of mine.
I trained with him, among several others, and me and Richard, we spent a lot of time together. We uh, worked each other a bunch of times. I still have a chipped bottom tooth thanks to one of his super kicks. Um, he's a great guy. But he, like you said, me and him were like the ones. We were there, rain, cold, hot. I mean, we trained in a barn in a backyard in Molina, and it was hot. And when it was cold, it was cold. But we were there. Paul was there every day for us to train us. He was there to help us, and he really showed us, the ropes. And it was not easy, you know what I mean? But it was something I wanted to do.
And I mean, everybody has a different story about how we got into the professional wrestling game. This is yours. After you seeing and you living it, has anybody in your eyes done anything crazy to try to get themselves into the wrestling business now, like in the mid 2020s?
There's a, I mean, yeah, I mean, the whole style, the whole business is different, you know. And I mean, which is understandable, you know what I mean? It's the evolution of time, and people aren't, you got a lot of people that don't come from, I guess you could say, like a street background, or you know what I mean, or just from a background we're more coddled in life, which is not a bad thing. It's different, the instructors and stuff can't be as much hard asses as they were back then, and it was, like I said, it was hard back then. But I
Yeah,
mean, a lot of these, like I said, a lot of, I mean, like I said, times have just changed. The spots have changed. People are doing crazy stuff now all around. You know what I mean? So it's to see who could top the next and who could do the craziest shit. You know what I mean? Who could dive off the tallest building? Who could, you know what I mean? So I mean, it's hard to define crazy because it's craziness all around.
yeah, of course. And from when you were wrestling, what made you turn into a booker? Because I think that was your next step. You went from
No,
being
actually, I started as a referee. I
okay, okay,
refereed, and then um, they had brought in a guy from Japan, Tiger Steel, and he was wrestling Victoria Gonzalez's dad, Rick, and
Desperado.
yeah, Desperado, Ricky Gonzalez, and who I tagged with him several times as well too. But he was wrestling him, but he was leaving for Japan. So the end of the match, this is a big 7'2". I think he was 7'2" or something like tall guy. He was a tag team partners with Mike Awesome down in Japan, All Japan or New Japan. I don't remember at that time. It was a long time ago. But he said, he looked at me, he said, "Kid, at the end of the match," he said, "Can you take a bump?" And I said, "Yeah, sure." And he said, "Okay, at the end of the match, this is what we're going to do, and I'm going to choke slam you." And I was like, "Okay, cool." And I took that choke slam. After that, they said, Paul, who was my trainer, looked at me and said, "You're ready." You know what I mean? So I next show or two shows, because at that time, Paul, we would run, of course, Corpus, and then like Victoria, Beeville, Alice, little towns. We even went as far as to like Pflugerville and outside of Austin area. And we kind of had a little rotation. You know what I mean? We would do Friday here, Saturday Beeville, Sunday Austin, or I mean, not Austin, Alice. I meant, and, it was pretty cool. You know what I mean? We had a good little rotation. So that Saturday, I debuted in Beeville, Texas, as the Night Stalker.
Oh, really? How was
Yeah,
that? Tell us a little bit about. I mean, we want to know everything. What everything was like. I don't think you've ever had the opportunity to tell your stories. Like now's the time. Let's tell it all. Like tell me how it was
yeah.
about being the Night Stalker.
It was kind of one of those gimmicks that was passed down for generations. Richard Aliman had it before me. Somebody had it before him. You know what I mean? And when somebody came in with, or somebody no showed, we needed somebody. That was the old go to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I hadn't really found myself yet, and I was still in the beginning of wrestling. Like I never felt that I belonged there. You know what I mean? And it was kind of the way the setup of the time was back then. They kind of, I mean, I'm not saying with Paul always treated me great and everything. I'm talking about outside, like being around the workers and being around, you know what I mean? I always felt like I didn't fit in, and I was quiet, kept to myself, just listened, watched everything that went on, you know what I mean? Didn't say too much. And, whatever direction was given to me by whoever I was working, because of course they were the vet to me, you know what I mean? I only had a handful of matches. I would follow, listen, do what I had to do, and go in there and try to make them look good and try to make myself look good. Even, like I lost a whole lot in the beginning of my career, you know what I mean? But that's part of the business, you know what I mean? That I did everything I could do to go out there and make that other person shine like $1 million. That was my job. That's what I was booked for.
Of course. Before we move on, we were talking, or you were talking about Rick Gonzalez Desperado. We've seen
Yes,
him recently when the Royal Rumble was going on again in San Antonio. He's had a long historic career in the independents here. And I've heard some stories that he went to Louisiana as well. I'm not too sure because I haven't spoken to him, but his daughter has played a big role in the independent scene here in Texas, Corpus, Laredo, Austin, San Antonio, Houston, and then she went on to WWE. What can you tell us about her father, Rick Gonzalez, Desperado?
He was a great guy and a great mentor. I mean, just being around him, like he just has a charisma that nobody had. And the first time I ever got to tag with him, we had a show in Kingsville, and I was wrestling the Flaming Rose, and we were just about to end the match, just about to go home, and out of nowhere, I'm getting the shit kicked out of me with the chair, and Dapper Dan had hit the ring and just attacked me. And I was like, what the hell's going on? Nobody told me, nobody sparked me up on what was going on. I think this was all just on the fly at that point. Um, Next thing you know, Ricky hits the ring, and the fans that were there went wild, and he gets in there and starts dropping Flaming Rose and Dapper Dan back and forth, and whatever, they powder out. He picks me up and he says, "Hey kid, you know what's going on?" And I said, "I ain't got a clue." And he said, "It's gonna be me and you versus Dan and Rose in the main event." And I was like, "God damn!" I, I mean, I did anything for exposure and everything, but I was like, "God damn!" I just got the shit kicked out of me. Now I'm gonna have to wrestle Dan again and get the shit kicked out of me again. But it was a great match, and then I tagged with him several times after that. And like I said, he would tell you straight up. You know what I mean? What you did wrong, what you did right. You know what I mean? What he liked, what he didn't like. You know what I mean? I had a lot of people that in my life, luckily, like that, but he was one of the real really good ones. And when he told you something, you listened. You know what I mean? And it was just Richard. I know spent a lot more time with him than I did. But I mean, I'm just glad that I got to spend that time with him and got to learn from him and pick up on what he was giving out. Diamond Rocket's also another one. Rudy Flores here from Corpus Christi. He's actually the one who gave me my gimmick name that I stuck with and that I went by.
And another thing that I've noticed also right now, that a lot of the guys that were in that circle where you were wrestling are still around and they're still being, like I said, Rick Gonzalez came out on WWE training with Victoria, like this beautiful promo out at on the Texas Wolverine gym in Corpus. I mean in San Antonio. And then we've got you, we've got the Galvans, Mr. Prestigious, Dapper Dan's name is still around in Louisiana. Prince Fontenot is also another name that's popping up again. Like you all are still running hard, really, really fast, and doing a whole bunch of things that a lot of people that in the professional wrestling industry already left, but you all are still doing your little parts, your little pieces, and making your all's like little history even longer, more intriguing to the people. Like I'm telling you, like I didn't know a lot of you all personally growing up, but when the tours would come around to Laredo, we were like, oh, who are these independent guys? Like, what's going on? And we would want to take pictures and autograph with you guys.
Yeah, it was like I said, that time was a great time. I mean, it was like to me, it was irreplaceable time. Just like I said, being on the road and with the group of guys that I was on the road with, and it was I'll never forget it. And like as far as me from in wrestling wise, I knew I wasn't ever gonna be a sign star. I'm too short. You know what I mean. I wasn't always in the best of shape. I was in a lot better shape than I am now. But I knew I wasn't going to be a big star. I kind of got into the ECW was real hot at the time when it was coming up, and I've always been a fan of Japanese wrestling. I've ordered videos when I was a kid. I found a guy from Pro Wrestling Illustrated magazine. He sent you a catalog and before RS Video and all that, and you would just highlight the videos and you would send them that, and they were like $5 each, and they would send you a VHS tape. You know what I mean? That he copied probably 100 times, and I would watch all that Japanese. You know what I mean? All Japan, New Japan, Big Japan, and it was like it was amazing. You know what I mean to me. So I kind of fell into that hardcore style, and it's what I like to do. You know what I mean? I went out there and gave my body, to the fans there. You know what I mean? I would get the shit kicked out of me, and I just fell into it. I do feel if I would have just stayed training and not kind of gotten to that, I would have probably have had a little bit longevity of a wrestler. But I kind of knew at that point, like after having, you know what I mean, some like so many matches and being up and down the roads here and there in Texas a little bit. I kind of knew I wanted to be more behind the curtain. I wanted to be the one putting stuff together. I wanted to be I had so many great ideas that I didn't want them to go unused. And of course, as a kid, you tell people this, that, and you're telling an older guy, and they think you're crazy. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
so I knew I wanted to go into promoting and booking is what I wanted to do.
And with that, when did the promoting and the booking start? When did you say, "Oh, I want to be the booker"? Because if I'm not mistaken, you probably did the booking first, and then you
Yeah,
became one
yeah.
of the hottest promoters, like in South Texas.
I just like I said, I knew that my time in the ring. Don't get me wrong, I still love to be in the ring, and I still love to take bumps and I mean, you can get there's no cardio like being in a ring, whether it's 20 by 20 or 18 by 18. You know, you'll get the best cardio in your life in that squared circle. You know, there. I mean, you can run 5 miles, but in 20 seconds you'll be blowing up, throwing up in a wrestling ring. You know, it's a different kind of cardio, and I tell that to kids all the time. You know what I mean? That you can't prepare yourself just by running. You got to be in that ring. But no, I knew that my time was not, you know what I mean, not gonna be there at this time. I started with the Galvans training when I was 16, 17, 16, and I probably stopped wrestling when my daughter was 2 or 3, and I was mid 20s, and I knew I kind of took a break for a little while, and because wrestling, and wrestling, that's all. But
Yeah, sometimes
I
you got to
kind
take a
of
break.
yeah,
Sometimes when the
so
bullshit pops up, you got to say, "Wait, give me a
yeah,
second, then I'll come right back."
yeah. So I took a break, and then I had the opportunity to help out the same Galvans that brought me into wrestling, you know what I mean? And brought me into training and stuff. So I went and I approached them, and, the booker they had at the time was kind of on his way out. So I was fortunate enough for them to let me take over and take the books. And I just worked at it from there. You know what I mean? Like I said, and it's something that I always knew that I wanted to do. It's something that I knew I could do because I do it with a passion. I do everything I do because I love this business. I don't do it for pops or to say, "Oh, look what this guy's doing." I don't do it for nothing. I do it because I love it. I do it because I want the fans to get their value when I produce a product for them. You know what I mean? Am I the best? No, but I'm gonna damn try my hardest to give the fans their bottom dollar's worth. You know what I mean? I want them to come, and whatever bullshit they got going on in their life outside of this venue, I want them to forget about that for the 2 hours that they're there. I want them to come and enjoy the product. I want them to come and say, "Wow, man, that was really cool. I want to come back to see that. I want to come back to see so and so win. I want to come back to see if so and so's gonna move up, or you know what I mean." That's what I strive for.
I'm gonna get a little bit ahead of myself with this, but I know it because I've seen it for many years, as where you were booking, and then when now that you're promoting, a lot of fans have followed the product that you're putting out there. Not like I said, I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but it's not choosing sides. It's, hey, I want to go see what's going on. Something is catching my attention here, and I want to go see it. And people drive from Laredo to Corpus. People have asked me, hey, I want to go to that show with you. Well, let's go. Come on, like follow me. It's a good night of wrestling entertainment. Come Friday nights in Corpus Christi when you put on your shows. What do you think
I
about when you hear stuff like that? When the people are like, man, I do want to
it
come back. I want to know what's going on next.
it blew my mind, and not even just the first show. Of course, you're always afraid of the unknown. You know what I mean? And I feel when I left the promotion I was with previously, a lot of people didn't have confidence that I was going to do anything. You know what I mean? They didn't believe in me, and I knew what I was going to do, but it takes time. You know what I mean? You have to. I was building from the ground up. But when I had my first show, not even my first show, my second show, third show, I mean, to see people, because I see where everybody buys tickets from and where they're coming from. To see people coming from Oklahoma, Louisiana, you know what I mean. I think Colorado, the last show. To see people coming all the way from out of state, you know what I mean, and plus all of the Texas, Dallas, you know what I mean. We have a couple that come from Dallas. They've been almost all every show. You know what I mean, and that blows my mind. You know what I mean? It makes me feel so good inside. That just for all the work that because it's just not just me. It's my wife and my daughter that we bust our butt. You know what I mean for this. You know what I mean, because it's what we want to do. You know what I mean, and it's there's no feeling like, I mean, it's the best feeling in the world. It just blows my mind that people, after seeing my product once or even just seeing it on YouTube or whatever, like, I want to go check it out in person. I mean, that it means, I mean, there's like I said, there's no feeling for it. There's no words for it. I'm like blown away by it.
And again, like you said, big shout out to Tracy and Haley who are always there. They've been to WrestleCons with you, the Cauliflower Alley Club with you. They're always with you 24/7 when it comes down to wrestling. I've seen them help with the ring, help with everything, tickets, merchandising, everything. Like big shout out to them because they do help you a lot
A,
in
a,
everything,
a,
in every aspect.
a lot of people don't know, and they're starting to pick up little by little, but Haley also does a lot of the booking. Haley does a lot of the creative. I mean, we help each other. All three of us do, but Haley's really involved in that aspect, and I'm getting her more involved in it. There's not a lot of women in this industry that do it, and there's not a lot of them that do it respectively, and or that are 100% about their product, and that's what she wants to do. You know what I mean? That this everything I'm doing for her. Once I'm gone, it's hers. You know what I mean? So she's got to
Of
be
course.
prepared to run with it. So, and I believe she will be. You know what I mean? She is. She busts her butt. She works hard. Like I said, whether it's tearing down the ring and whatever, we're there. My ring crew was in the beginning was just me and my wife. You know what I mean? Haley was working out of town, and we're on the phone constantly communicating. She's reaching out, doing her thing, doing what she needs to do. And when it would come time before I bought my trailer, it was me and my wife who would load up my ring on Thursday night to go set it up Friday morning. You know what I mean? Just us two. Yeah, we'll load it, take a break, load it, take a break. But that's the dedication you have to have if you want to do it, and we want to do it.
And like I said, Jeff, you have one hell of a good support system. You've never been left alone, and you have a good set of like you're building your little team up because I've seen some of the guys from Kingsville come out and from Alice to come out and help you out as well. So it's really good. And then of course myself, I like being out with you a lot. I got to hang out with you several times outside of Corpus and Laredo, Dallas. We hung out a little bit in Los Angeles. I got to see you, got to enjoy the time that it was, and got to see from the outside in, like, wow, the cartel is really taking over. With that, where did the Texas Wrestling Cartel name come from? And I want the long story, not the.
I wanted it to be its like own product, like we're like a cartel. You know what I mean? And that's basically where the name came from.
You mentioned a very good friend of mine in the wrestling business. We have friends. We have friends that become family, and we fight. We fight like brothers, and then we come back together and we make up whatever. But you mentioned Michael Atwell. Because of Michael Atwell, I was the one that brought him into the wrestling business. We have a long friendship. We were helping a couple of friends of mine that were in a band when I started talking about professional wrestling and be like, hey, I want to do this. I want to become the LWN. He was like, bro, you're never gonna make it. But if you do, we'll do something together because I like professional wrestling. And I was like, for sure, let's do something. So I told him, hey, I know that you're not physically capable of becoming a wrestler and doing all the physical activity that it does, but become a referee. So he became a referee like that. And then I remember telling him, hey, man, these graphics are getting super expensive, like getting guys from out of town. Can you help me out? And he helped me out for many years, even like when we were pissed off at each other. I would still tell him, hey, can you hook me up with some graphics? And he was like, yes. And I miss him. I miss him dearly. And I don't have a graphics guy anymore, and I don't want to go to anybody because before he got sick, he was helping me little by little. He was like, "Hey, bro, do this trick and do that trick. Try this and try that." And I started doing all the graphics now for like Let the Mic Drop, for Aces, for the boots. Like I do that all by myself on my spare time. But Michael Atwell, like you said, he did your graphic for the Texas Wrestling Cartel. He's a good friend, and I love him. I miss him. It was his birthday, and
Yeah,
I still can't believe he's gone. Like he still holds a lot of people's wrestling like memories intact, and I've seen a lot of pictures where he comes out in my memories, and I
yeah.
love him and I miss him. And give us one Michael Atwell story before you
Uh,
continue.
Well, I have. I mean, well, I have a few of them. I remember the first time that, and it was through you. I had a ref cancel, and I was promoting with another promotion at the time, and we brought him in to ref. And I remember when he got to the venue, he came up to me and he shook my hand, and we had met before cordially, in passing, but never like full conversation. And so, he got there and he shook my hand, and, he was kind of excited, and he went up to go change, and he came back to me and he said, "Man, I'm nervous. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this." And I said, "Man, I've seen you ref, hundreds of times. I mean, you're a good ref." He said, "Yeah, but I've never ref at a place like this." And it was a pretty big show that night. And I just remember giving him my confidence. You know what I mean? Like, "Man, you're going to be straight. You're going to be good. You'll be fine." And he went out there and killed it. And after he came back, after the match, the first match he ref, he said, "You weren't wrong." He says, "Once I got out there, everything just went away, and I'm just my natural self." And I said, "That's all it takes, man." And after that, me and him built a bond. Like I said, like you said, you have acquaintances, you have friends, and you have brothers. You know what I mean? And Atwell became one of my brothers. And the same with you. We've had our little spats and our differences, and and where we didn't talk for a little while, and then we would talk again, and then I would get mad at him because I started using it for graphics, and there was a point in his life, which I understand. And as a promoter, sometimes you overlook that he was going through some stuff mentally, and this is before he got sick and all that. And he was just getting overwhelmed. You know what I mean? And it can be overwhelming. So I kind of, you know what I mean, and then I would go back, "I'm sorry, bro," and you know what I mean. Okay, it happens in wrestling, but the big thing is going back and saying you're sorry, and not letting that. And if anything I learned from with his situation, unfortunate situation, is, if you love somebody, if they really mean something to you, don't let little bullshit get involved, and don't let little bullshit wreck what your true feelings mean. You know what I mean? Especially in wrestling.
Yes, of course. It's still a little sensitive and hard to speak about him because he was a good friend for 15, 20 years, if I'm not mistaken, in my
Yeah,
life. And we went through all the roads. We went to Dallas, Houston together. We went through all these places together, and we did share a lot of time in the locker room. But
he was a one of a kind, man. And like I
oh
said, I
yeah,
miss
yeah,
him
yeah.
dearly. I
I
believe he.
remember some nights when he would come out and be like, "Bro, you sound just like Ric Flair if you would want to." I don't know if you ever heard him do the Ric Flair voice.
Yes, I have. I've had the pleasure to hear him do it. Uh, it might have been you that told him to. Somebody told him to do it at one of the shows after the shows, and he did it, and we were all cracking up. I think it might be on video somewhere too. I'll have to look back.
Yeah. Let's move a little bit forward now. The cartel.
Yes,
What
sir.
is the biggest thing that you've said, other than your family? Because, like I said, I see your daughter, your wife, they see you walking around and doing stuff, but I don't know if you actually see it, how prideful they are and how proud of you that they are and how like, damn, my husband is doing the type of thing. What is it other than your family that you're like, man, I feel like I accomplished something tonight?
Well, I guess the feeling of accomplishment. I mean, yes, I do feel like I've accomplished something. I'm extremely happy of where I'm at, but I'm not done, and I'm not where I want to be yet. You know what I mean? I'm barely. This is. I'm barely, to me, like starting all over again in the wrestling business. It's fresh. It's something that made me fall back into love with wrestling. Because I got to a point in a little while at the end of the run when I was with the other promotion where I just didn't want to be in wrestling anymore, and I didn't want to be around it no more. But my family, and then, I mean, they were, like I said, one, and not just my family, you, I mean, a lot of Albert and Liz, you know what I mean? They're like, you love it. Why are you going to give it up? You know what I mean? And then that's what I'm doing everything now with just love. And I enjoy I mean, there's no stress for me. Of course, wrestling's always going to be stressful, but I'm like, it's wrestling. You know what I mean? Let me just have a good time with it. And I'm actually enjoying it and having a good time with it. That's my thing. But as far as being satisfied and happy, I want to see Texas Wrestling Cartel, not just in Texas. I want to become a regional, not just regional. I want to be out there. You know what I mean? I want to be another, I wouldn't say GCW, but I want to be on that, a revolver. You know what I mean? I want to be one of those promotions that travels the United States. You know what I mean? At least if it's the southern part. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't,
yeah.
of course, Corpus is my home base, and I love Corpus. And I'm always going to run shows in Corpus. But my main goal is to get out there, and I want the world to see the product.
Well, I've little by little, I've got to see how much of a drive that you have because if I'm not mistaken, there's two promoters out of the state of Texas that are part of the Cauliflower Alley Club, which is Randy, Lance Romance, and yourself. I could be wrong. If there's another one, I'm sorry, but those are the only two promoters that I know of that are part of something so big, something so special, something that has lineage decades before we were even starting anything in the wrestling business. Am I right, or I could be wrong
I,
on that?
well, I know there's like Brittany Holguin and Nigel are part of it, and then I know there's a lot of a few workers. Slim Sevens now part of it, but uh, it was, to me, this was my first year, and it's amazing. It's amazing. If you love this business, if you love wrestling, whether you're a worker or a promoter, Cauliflower Alley they offer an amazing service. If you don't know what they do, look it up. Brian Blair's doing an awesome job. I mean, they help so many people, and they help so many veterans, and you know what I mean, older guys that we grew up looking up to, you know what I mean, that are down on hard times, that need our help. And it's just an amazing, amazing, amazing thing. I enjoyed it so much. And the I'll tell you this, like said earlier, I felt like I never belonged. I never belonged in wrestling. That night, I knew I belonged there, and I belonged there with everybody that was in that room, and everybody treated me so well. And they're just, everybody's curious, where are you from, what do you do, you know what I mean, this and that, and it's just it's just great. It's a great experience. I highly recommend it, and we need more Texas promoters. We need more Texas people to join. This year we had one full table of Texas people at Cauliflower Alley, one full table. Next year, I would like to have three full tables. And they need the help, and they need the money, and they need to keep this going. Like I said, it's an amazing, amazing, amazing experience.
And the cauliflower, for just a quick recap to those people that don't know in the state of Texas or whoever's watching this, it's like a non-profit organization for the wrestlers of the past. Like if somebody needs help, oh, we're having surgery and we need like $64 just to finish covering paying for this. They'll put some funds and they'll put in the $64 to help out. They won't like baby the wrestler. They'll take care of what really needs to be taken care of. Am I right?
Yeah, well, like Brian Knobs, he got up there and he told his story. He's gone through 3 or 4 health scares where he thought he wasn't going to make it, and Cauliflower Alley was there to help cover his medical bills and help. You know what I mean? If you're, say you have a house fire, if you know what I mean, they're there to help the vets. They don't have insurance. They don't have. If some of them, especially the older guys, back then weren't taught to hold on to their money and didn't make a whole lot of money to begin with. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
now their body's beaten up by entertaining us. You know what I mean? And they don't have the capability of sustaining their medical needs. So and stuff like that. And you know, so it really, like I said, if you really love this business, if you really love wrestling, then I mean, you should give back to it 100%. And I try to give everything I can to wrestling. You know, that it's just in my nature. It's something I love, and I'll never stop loving it. And it's what I do. You know.
Regresan las máximas estrellas a Laredo, Texas. Celebremos juntos nuestro tercer aniversario. Viernes 29 de septiembre en el Casablanca Pensante. Lucha Mania presenta Yo hago lo que me da la gana. En la lucha superestelar regresa la pareja más espectacular de la última década y actuales campeones de parejas de Lucha Maniacs. Penta, el Cero Miedo, el Rey Fénix. Defenderán sus campeonatos en un triangular de parejas contra la Orden, Décimos y Juventud Aérea contra la epidemia del momento, Epidemius y Epidemius Junior. Triangular de locura por el campeonato de Lucha Maniacs. El actual campeón, el intrépido Antonio San Francisco, se enfrenta a las máximas estrellas de lucha libre AAA, el megacampeón AAA, el hijo del vikingo y el águila del Río Bravo, Laredo Kid. Y porque esta rivalidad tiene que culminar, se enfrentan Máscara contra Cabellera, Cuervo contra Eric Ortiz. Y porque el público lo pide y nosotros les cumplimos, la tóxica Lady Maravilla defenderá su campeonato ante la sensual Sexy Star. Además llegan las máximas superestrellas, las Chotas, Diva Salvaje y Jess Ventura, la Black Generation, Demonic Flamita y Emperador Azteca y muchas estrellas más. Viernes 29 de septiembre, Casablanca Vincente, Laredo, Texas. Tienes que ser parte del tercer aniversario de Lucha Maniacs. Entra general desde 20 dolaritos. Informes en el 956-236-1754. No te lo puedes perder.
Hello, everybody. I'm Ricky Morton of the Rock and Roll Express. And when it comes to wrestling and you need gear and you need your instruments to play your band, listen to me. I only go where the best is. And I go to Laredo to Aces Boots. Check these right here out, man. Good wrestling boots, and they last forever. Don't send your money out of the country to get a pair of boots. Just send it to Laredo. It's Ace Boots Company. Have a good night.
Hola, yo soy Lady Flammer y estás viendo Let the Mic Drop.
It's so fun watching the picture and looking at the pictures of you all at the Cauliflower Alley Cup and all the people that were there. Rey Mysterio Jr. was there. Damian 666 was inducted into this year's class of Hall of Famers. It's not just a mixture
Th-
of the
that right there was amazing when Ray got up there to induct, because I know Damien personal, you know what I mean, so it felt special
yeah.
to me, extra special that it was him, because he's such a good person. But to hear the stories and to see the pictures and the videos and stuff that they played of Damien when he was younger, and it was just amazing to see. You know, he had a smile from ear to ear all night. You know, it was amazing.
Damien 666 is also a good friend of mine. Uh, I didn't meet him through you. I met him through going through the Lucha Libres and through
Yeah.
Daga. And then, like, again, we saw each other in Corpus. And he's always a fun guy. He's come here to the house where I'm at. And he was sitting actually right here where I'm sitting. And he was just like, hey, man, like, let's chill, whatever. And real good person, real nice family man. I've got to hang out with his son as well, Bestia. It's always, like I said,
Hmm.
a good time. And it's nothing crazy because when these wrestlers get to show you that they are people too, not just I'm a wrestler, I have to be a tough guy. When people show you that they're people, you get to expand the friendship, the knowledge, and that's when you pick and choose of, hey man, show me what you can show me. Like I want to learn more, and that's how I've learned a lot of stuff through all the wrestlers and the promoters. Like I'll take a little bit of something from here and I'll take a little bit of something from there, and I've created what I have now, like a little go-to spot in Laredo, Texas, type of thing.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? Like me, everywhere I go, I got my eyes and ears open. I'm looking, I'm hearing, I'm seeing. Okay, that might not work for me, but I could do it like this, and that might. You know what I mean? And in this business, you always have to. The minute you think to yourself and oh, I know it all, or oh, I've been doing this for 27 years, or I've been doing this for 34 years, or whatever, I then you've lost touch with your fans, or you're gonna lose touch with your fans. You know what I mean? This business reinvents itself every day. Every day there's something new. Every day there's something that could be done. I mean, look at where the technology and the stuff where we're at today. You know what I mean? If you would have told, you know what I mean, the guys back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s that, oh, yeah, you're going to have a thing called Facebook where you could just look for bookings. You don't have to go town to town. And you know what I mean? They would have tripped out. You know what I mean? But it just, you have to always just listen and stay humble. Stay humble because you're not always going to be right. And you know what I mean? Wrestling, there's 20 different ways to skin a cat, to so to say. You know what I mean? And just because somebody's doing something that you were taught to do another way doesn't make it wrong.
Of course not. And with that, like I've learned a lot of stuff from you. Like I said, when I go to your shows, I pick and choose from you what like I see is like, man, this is really working for Jeff. This is really like intriguing. Like I have not stopped learning in the 13 years that I've been in the wrestling profession. And I want to thank you also right now that I have the opportunity because a lot of things, a lot of the people I would have never met if it wasn't through you. Uh, a lot of the opportunities that have come through my like to my doorstep basically have come through you. I mean, and
It
I enjoy being around you. I don't see you like as a father figure. I see you like as an older brother. Be like, hey man, let me just call you to see how you're doing. Hey, is everything okay? Like type of deal. Like I love you like an older brother, and I mean, I'm not ashamed to say it. I really do, and it's I'm grateful that everything is and happy for you that everything's going according to plan. One day, like I'm slowly planning a big show where everybody in like that has a nice promotion can come down and we can have a big show like we did a few years ago where I forget what it was called because we had to change the name from WrestlePalooza. But I remember when you came and you had like your few matches and but it was an all day thing from 2 to like 11:30.
Yeah, I'll never forget that day. It was hot. It was hot, but
Yeah.
it was a very enjoyable day. And see, it was such a great time. And no matter how hot it was, because it gets hot there in Laredo and inside that building, but was pretty warm. But the fans stayed all the way through, and I think it started like at noon and ended like at midnight. And the fans stayed all the way to the end because they enjoyed what you did. They enjoyed what you put together, and that they enjoyed seeing all the promotions that they don't get to see typically. You know what I mean? There come through Laredo. So that I mean that to me that event was a great success because like I said, it kept the fans there and it was packed. You know what I mean? And they stayed through the heat and they watched the wrestling and enjoyed it. That was a great time. And with you, I mean, I appreciate you so much. You've been one that's helped me a ton as well. And there's not enough things I could say. You know what I mean? I'd be here all night. You know what I mean? Putting you over. I I um I really appreciate the camaraderie and you standing by me and always believing me and when I'm a little down and you always pick me up and it's there's I wouldn't know what to do without you. There's a certain few that are out there, and you are one of my top one. You know what I mean? You're the one that are I know. You know what I mean? Anytime you tell me something, or if you have criticism for me, you tell me. I'm gonna listen because you're telling me because you mean it. You know what I mean? Not just to, I don't know how to explain that well, but you're from the heart with me, man, and I love you too, dog. There's nothing I wouldn't do for you. You know what I mean? You would call me at any time, I would be right there for you. You know that.
Jeff, before we go, I mean, I've had you for quite a long time here. Before we go, I want to know what the next Texas Wrestling Cartel holds for the people of Corpus Christi, the surrounding areas, the people that are outside in the United States, even in Mexico that can come make it. to this show in Corpus Christi, Texas. Corpus Christi has always been a hotbed for professional wrestling. I mean, there's pictures of Dusty Rhodes with Cody Rhodes on those stairs from the American Bank Center. Mil Máscaras wrestled Cactus Jack in Corpus Christi. What's
Oh,
the
that's
next big memory that you want to leave them from the Texas Wrestling Cartel?
the next. There's man, the whole thing that I want. Like I said, I want to build Corpus back into a super hotbed. I want it to, like I said, and I believe I'm already doing it, so I really can't go in like that. But I just want it to be known as for one. Of course, you have Houston, you have, you know what I mean, San Antonio, and you know what I mean, and all these bigger cities. I want them to see Corpus like that when, you know what I mean, in the wrestling world, because when I sat through the seminar with JBL and James Beard, now they talked about Texas great, but it was Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, El Paso. Corpus Christi's never mentioned. And I want to change that going forward. I want, Corpus Christi. And it doesn't even matter if it's me doing it. I just want Corpus to be known as what it is. You know what I mean? Because you've had a lot of amazing talent come through here, and there's been some tremendous shows. And I give you this, my word, that I'm not done yet, and I'm gonna work my ass off to really elevate this.
And you are. I mean, the like I said, you brought some big name talent into the cartel, and a lot of talent that's never been able to be brought by anybody else in Texas, but by you. Like I said, Mil Mascaras and Cactus Jack tore the roof down at Clash of the Champions when they were in Corpus. That
Yeah, check it
iconic
out.
photo that Cody Rhodes has with Dusty on the American Bank Center stairs. My guy, you're doing it. The Emerald Beach Hotel has some amazing memories already because of you. And it's not just that one venue. Like it's time to like little by little start expanding, start growing because I mean, not everybody can say that they've dealt with the Rock and Roll Express, the Guns, Kerry Morton, Moose. I mean, and that's just two shows that I'm speaking of. You still have hundreds upon hundreds of shows to book. And
It,
it's so exciting that you're like, you have everybody at the edge of their seats. What's going on? What's happening next at the cartel?
and that's a big one that we strive for. You know what I mean? I don't, like even this show I have coming up September 23rd. I may be done announcing talent, I may be not. You'll have to be there to find out what's going to happen. And I enjoy having people on the edge of their seat and wondering what's next because it adds a lot of value to the suspense. Adds a lot of value. That's what I should say.
Of course. And again, you're not done learning because I've been to a
Oh
couple
no,
cartel shows, like I said, and one show, the entrance was on one side, and then the next show, the entrance on the other side, and we were like, whoa, this is a change, but it's a good change. It's a nice change. It's refreshing. I mean, it's not the same product. It's not the same people. It's something going on at different times, and you're like, whoa, like this is really something nice. This is really
yeah,
something special.
we're still, like I said, we're learning the venue and we're figuring out what works right for us. And like I said, we're started. This is our first year as running by ourselves on our own. So we're figuring out stuff as we go on what's going to work best and look best. And because I'm very high on how things look, and I mean, our entrances will probably change a lot. You know what I mean? Of course, I'm always one to reinvest into my product. You know what I mean? I want bigger, I want better stuff. You know what I mean? And give me some time, stick with me, and you'll see it. You'll definitely see it.
One of the guys that has come to Corpus that hasn't come to South Texas, other than the cartel, and I've seen him do amazing things, and I'm like, man, this kid is spectacular. Like this kid, if I were to see him on the streets, I would be like, man, this kid's got some charisma for not being a professional wrestler. He's in the wrong business. He needs to be a professional wrestler, but he is a professional wrestler. I'm talking about Eddie Martinez. What do you got to?
Eddie.
Yeah,
Oh,
tell me about him.
Eddie. Eddie's an amazing talent. He, to me, he is. just about everything. Of course, there's always room for improvement, but he's just about everything that a pro wrestler should be. I mean, he takes care of his body. You know what I mean? He's so humble and he's tremendous that like he anything you need, he does his promos. You don't even have to ask him. He's like, I'm on top of it, sir. I'm on top of it. I mean, he never stops hustling. He never stops promoting himself. He's a great person for this business and a great person in general. He's somebody who I expect to see not on the indies for long. You know, I know he hasn't been on the road for long, but he's going there, man. And I'm just happy to actually have him as part of, as my roster, and I'm happy to have him, give him some of the opportunities that I've been able to give him, and the opportunities. I mean, they're still coming. You know what I mean? He's going to be one that I can't wait to grow with me. And JP Harlow as well. JP Harlow's an amazing talent, an amazing person who I feel needs more spotlight on him, and I'm gonna do the same for him. There's a bunch of great guys, but like I said, Eddie, and JP, they've been there since day one. And I'm just glad to see that I'm able to give them that little push that they deserve. You know what I mean? Not just me. I mean, everybody's. You know what I mean? They're all doing their own part. You know what I mean? Out there, but I'm just speaking for myself. Like, I feel happy that I'm able to give them the opportunities that I'm able to.
Another one that we just saw that is doing something, and it comes to the cartel often, and he's gonna be here September 23rd. Brian Keith. He was just on
Yeah,
Rampage, and he did an amazing job. I've seen a lot of indie guys come into AEW. They have their spot, but their spot is to put the main wrestler over. Brian Keith wasn't putting Adam Page over. He was making sure that he was going to fight for his spot that night. And boy, that was one heck of a match. If you've been a Brian Keith fan since the
I've
beginning,
been I've been a Brian Keith fan since the beginning. Um, And I remember when I was with the previous promotion, and he came in a few times before he had found his gimmick and found himself, and I always wanted to have him back. I always wanted to have him back, and unfortunately, at that time, I wasn't kind of allowed to. But no, the first chance I had, you know what I mean, and I love his work ethic. I love his charisma. He oozes charisma like nobody else. You know what I mean? He just has such a strong presence, and once he gets in that ring, he becomes a different person. He's just an amazing person as well, and I'm just happy to have the opportunity to work with him because, you know, I know he's the next one you know what I mean. He's not going to be around much longer. He's going to be off to main stage somewhere. You know what I mean? He's such a great guy, and his like I said, his in ring work is great. His intensity is great. I mean, I could go on and on about him. He's a great guy.
with his intensity, I enjoy his intensity because I've been in the building. When he chops his opponent, everybody in the building hears it, and you can feel it. And you're like, damn, I don't want none of that. So he's one of the guys that makes you believe that, and it's taboo when you say wrestling is fake, but he's one of those guys that makes you believe when it hurts, boy, he's making that other opponent feel the
Oh,
wrath of his chops.
I'll never forget when him and Dr. Wagner that match, and I was so excited that I booked that match, Dr. Wagner Jr. But man, when they were trading those chops, they were two different chops. You know what I mean? Two different styles of chops. But the fans were just in awe. You can go back and watch the video. They were in awe because it was like shotguns were going off. It was loud.
Of
They they
course,
they both of them really brought it.
now that we can see behind you, I know that you've been an avid collector of professional wrestling memorabilia, collectibles, action figures. I've seen some of them that you've shown me. What, you don't have to show it to us now, but what is
Well,
your prized possession in your collection?
I can grab a couple of things. This is probably one of them right here, and I didn't actually get this signed to myself. Um, Eddie Elizondo, my brother-in-law, got this for me. I don't know which way to put.
Yeah,
There
we
we
can see
go.
right there.
Yeah, and it's a Chris Benoit signed DVD, which is kind of taboo. You know what I mean nowadays, but I still, you know what I mean. I still cherish this, and probably a couple other one of course this Kevin Von Erich right here is probably one of my favorite because there's not I don't have too many Von Erich stuff signed. You know what I mean? So getting him to sign, he signed the front and the back, and it was funny because when he
Nice.
signed it, well, as soon as he signed it, he told me, "You're putting that straight to eBay, aren't you?" And I said, "Hell no, I'm not. It's going to my shelf." And then I'll show this one is probably one of my favorite. Oh, there goes Zack Ryder. This is probably one of my favorites. I have Brett and Sean's signature on both.
And that's
And
an exclusive one, if I'm not mistaken.
it's exclusive, yes, sir. The Montreal screw job. So yeah, this is pretty high up there for me. And of course, you know what I mean. I have the Sacco that I love, but this is one, two. I'll show you a couple more. This is
Of
one
course.
too that means a lot to me.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
real
this,
nice. That one's an exclusive figure too, isn't it?
yes, sir. And I finally got him to sign it. You know, it was a while back when I got him to sign it, and let me see if I can find the other one that I want to show you. Well, there's that one up there, but let me find. It's here somewhere. I have. Oh, there's Michael Atwell right there. Ric Flair. But I have a Dusty here somewhere that signed, and it's somewhere here. I have a like I said, I have a ton of stuff. So it's one. Well, is it there? No, this is not it. I have a Dusty here that's signed that's very special to me. I have China that's signed, but this is probably one of my really ones that too that really means a lot to me.
Oh, the Terry Funk Chainsaw Charlie one. That also. I mean,
Yeah.
you have so much just on figures alone. Those exclusive figures are a rarity. Those are a gem, and you have a whole bunch of them that are autographed already.
A bunch, and none of these I didn't. These are all I got autographed myself. I didn't order them autographed. And then like,
There's that Bray Wyatt one.
yeah, they're all I got all signed myself personally. You know what I mean? I don't really do the whole buying signed already. You know, and this is not even. I mean,
That's
I
not
have a
even scratching
ton.
the surface.
Yeah. This is not even scratching the surface at all. Uh-oh. I'll fix it
I got to
right
take
now.
a trip down to Corpus so you can show us all your collection, and we'll just make an episode of it. Look at that one.
Yeah.
That one's so nice. That Ultimate Warrior one.
I love it. I this one this one was one that I could say that I didn't get signed myself, but this figure came from his personal collection,
Mhm.
and I have I have the CFA for it and everything. Like it was his, he owned it. So that
If only
that
you
one
could
was
see your face on my side of the screen holding all those figures. You look so happy.
yeah. I yeah I get and then this one too was one that I really cherish.
Oh, that great
It's
Muda figure.
super hard to get the figure.
Yes.
And then and then to have him sign it, and I got this signed at one of the WrestleCons. So to get him to actually sign it, man, I would like to show you my Dusty. I just don't know where I have it.
Like I said, I'll make a trip out there soon, and we'll go through each one of those figures because
Yeah, I have, dude. I
they're,
have a
from what I
ton.
see, I mean, you have a foam finger. Those things haven't been seen in years in the wrestling business.
Yeah, I have boxes and boxes and boxes of stuff signed and put away, and you know what I mean. Stone Cold and like I said, Dusty Rhodes, Ric Flair. I got just about, you know what I mean. But like I said, the Terry Funk, of course, and that's probably one of my main cherished ones.
And that's awesome that Tracy supports this, that you can have your collection out rather than just in boxes stored away in an attic
Oh,
where it's super hot.
I don't even want to show you the other side of this room. This room is nothing but figures and nothing but my stuff. So yeah, it's this is supposed to be my office, but it kind of turned into my I guess man cave, toy cave.
That's awesome. Jeff,
Yes, sir.
right now, this is the last thing we'll do. I mean, you can always come on Let the Mic Drop. You have an open
Oh,
invitation to talk about whatever you
I just
want.
appreciate you having me. I'm trying not to look too fat on camera, but
No,
it
don't
don't
worry,
work.
don't worry. You look great. You look great for 45.
Yeah.
But give it to us straight one time. Let us know where we can find the next Texas Wrestling Cartel, what your social media is. Of course, it's Texas Wrestling Cartel anywhere, Facebook. But I want to hear from you, from the horse's mouth, the main guy, the promoter, the dream maker, Jeff Trevino. Give it to us. Texas Wrestling Cartel. Where can we find you? What's the next show? And
the
go.
The next show is September 23rd at the Emerald Beach Hotel in Corpus Christi, Texas. Bury the Dead. We have, a lot of talent coming in, like always, Icky Dice. We have the Kingdom. We have La Parquita Negra, Avispo Negro, Mini Avispo Negro, I meant to say, and Slim Seven, Fuego del
Aaron
Sol,
Mercer.
Aaron Mercer, of course, that very special one. I'm glad you said that. I was kind of on the spot here, like, oh man, I don't really hype myself up too much like this, so it's kind of hard, you know what I mean? But yeah, no, Aaron Mercer, it's a very special one for him because if you don't know, he's going to have some knee surgery, some shoulder surgery, and of course, he's not saying it's his final match because he does plan to come back, but you know how stuff goes, so he's
Yeah,
treating
of
it like
course.
his final match, and I'm happy to be able to give. He's another guy that I love to death. You know what I mean? He's done some amazing things in his short time here at the Texas Wrestling Cartel. He officially made us the promotion of the nipples, and so
And it's enjoyable.
yeah,
That
the fans love it, and that's all that matters. You know what I mean?
that
It's
match
great.
that he had with Colt Cabana, I
It
didn't
was
expect it to go the way it was, and I was like, wow, like this
that
is
was
something
amazing.
special. It was a
It
special
ma-
match because Colt Cabana doesn't do what he does to a lot of people, and he did that with Aaron Mercer.
yeah, and it just I think it goes to show too, like what a good guy Mercer like Cabana felt his, you know what I mean, like felt his passion and everything for it, and went out there and did it with him. But what the match turned into, I can go back and watch that match like 1,000 times. You know what I mean, because it was just magic. And I'm not just saying it because it was my match. It's not about it's not about my promotion at that minute. It's about the moment. It's the match, and that match just had that feeling. You know what I mean? It was just
Of
like
course.
they had the fans there the whole match. You know what I mean? And to go, I think I've timed. I think it's 8 minutes or so. To go 8 minutes without even doing locking up or doing, not even starting to wrestle, and you still have control of the fans' emotions like that's freaking amazing. It was just, it was, I mean, I'm still like that match right there, like even just what he did last show with Dalton Castle, you know what I mean? That was match was amazing, and it was, I mean, I, like I said, I have so many great things to say about Mercer and what he's done for me, and what he brings to the table.
Yes, of course. And I remember seeing Aaron Mercer training as a
Yeah.
young guy. I mean, he had
hmm
short hair. His beard
Short hair.
wasn't as
He
it
had the
was
little
now. It was like it was looked like stubble type of thing. But I mean, I
the
remember.
the little tights, the little trunks.
Yes, yes, I
Yeah.
remember him. Like it goes back. It goes. His history goes back, and it just went from a bigger fight, a bigger wrestling match to a bigger wrestling match to now he's one of the main stars. Wherever he goes, he can be the main event of the show.
And his charisma is just so. I mean, it's like it's hard to. I mean, he just oozes it. It's just like he's just such a likable guy. The fans just love him, even if he tries to do something bad or whatever. The fans still love him. It just that's the type of person he is, the personality he has. It's crazy. It's great to see.
And I think
He's
he's one
one.
of the only workers that can wear his type of wrestling gear and get away with it.
and get away with it. And think about it. I mean, look at it like this. He went from deathmatch wrestling, you know what I mean? It was
Yeah,
I always gave him shit about it because I know his beginning. I've seen him work, you know what I mean? And he's an amazing talent, but I understand both sides of it because it's something I had to do, you know what I mean? So, and he did it worse than I did, you know what I mean? Because now it's a lot more brutal than it was but it's something that he had to go through. And now I like where he's at, you know what I mean? And doesn't say he still can't do it, but he doesn't have to so much, you know what I mean?
of course. Like I said, Jeff, it's always a good time hearing you. It's nice seeing you, especially since I haven't seen you in a while.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Brother, I love you. Like I said, Texas Wrestling Cartel next week, September 23rd. Guys, get your tickets, get your entrance. Make sure that you can get into the building because once the building is filled to capacity, we can't let anybody else in. You want to make sure that you get your tickets. Jeff, before you go, anything else you want to say?
Just thank you for everything, and thank you for all the late night talks, and you know what I mean, and always believing in me, man, and helping me out whenever I need it. I really appreciate you and love you like a brother, and that's it. And thank you, to all the fans that have stuck by me and my family, and enjoy our product. And said, come out September 23rd. I guarantee you won't be disappointed.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Jeff Trevino from Texas Wrestling Cartel. He's got a big show. All the stars are going to line up for him pretty soon. And September 23rd, you need to go out and check him out. Thank you very much for joining us another week on Let the Mic Drop.
Oh! Check that out. Ace's Boots. 3 easy payments. I'm just goofing. New boot goofing.
Regresan las máximas estrellas a Laredo, Texas. Celebremos juntos nuestro tercer aniversario. Viernes 29 de septiembre en el Casablanca Pensante. Lucha Mania presenta Yo hago lo que me da la gana. En la lucha superestelar regresa la pareja más espectacular de la última década y actuales campeones de parejas de Lucha Mania. Experta, el Cero Miedo, el Rey Fénix. Defenderán sus campeonatos en un triangular de parejas contra la Orden, Décimos y Juventud Aérea contra la epidemia del momento, Epidemius y Epidemius Junior. Triangular de locura por el campeonato de Lucha Maniacs. El actual campeón, el intrépido Antonio San Francisco, se enfrenta a las máximas estrellas de lucha libre AAA, el megacampeón AAA, el hijo del vikingo y el águila del Río Bravo, Laredo Kid. Y porque esta rivalidad tiene que culminar, se enfrentan Máscara contra Cabellera, Cuervo contra Eric Ortiz. Y porque el público lo pide y nosotros les cumplimos, la tóxica Lady Maravilla defenderá su campeonato ante la sensual Sexy Star. Además llegan las máximas superestrellas, las Chotas, Diva Salvaje y Jess Ventura, la Black Generation, Demonic Flamita y Emperador Azteca y muchas estrellas más. Viernes 29 de septiembre, Casablanca Event Center, Laredo, Texas. Tienes que ser parte del tercer aniversario de Lucha Mania. Entra general desde 20 dolaritos. Informes en el 956-236-1754. No te lo puedes perder.
Hello, everybody. I'm Ricky Morton of the Rock and Roll Express. And when it comes to wrestling and you need gear and you need your instruments to play your band, listen to me. I only go where the best is. And I go to Laredo to Ace's Boots. Check these right here out, man. Good wrestling boots, and they last forever. Don't send your money out of the country to get a pair of boots. Just send it to Laredo. It's Ace Boots Company. Have a good night.